Hey guys, welcome back. Thank you for tuning in as usual. I'm really sorry about sucking at posting on this. I know it's been like 4 weeks at this point now, but life has just been so crazy since that Marco show, and I've just been really trying to ride the wave of that exposure and just trying to book a lot of gigs and try and get paid work. And on top of that, we have the Inked magazine competition that Raven's doing right now, so I've been doing a lot of promoting for that, with all the giveaways and stuff. It's just been a really hectic time of year, so I do apologize, but here I am, and today I want to talk about my transition and what being transgender means to me. So I know I kind of glazed over it in my intro video, but I really just wanted to go in depth and detail and really just talk about my experience being a transgender man. So I'm gonna go all the way back, way back to when I was a kid, and just it's really hard to explain. But I always knew something was wrong. I just didn't know how to express it. You know, when you're a kid, you don't know. It's not like you wake up one day and you're like, oh, this is it, I'm trans. It's just I woke up feeling weird and different, like looking at myself differently in the mirror, and I didn't really know how to pinpoint it. I just knew something was off. So I just have really specific memories as a kid and like certain situations that really just like kind of solidify it for me. The first one would be like when I was maybe 5 or 6 years old. I had a cousin who was a boy, and we were the same age. And every day after school, we would go to my grandmother's house. She would watch us until our moms picked us up. So we would just play everything together, you know, Legos and toys, dinosaurs. We'd play outside, do sports. We did all that together. I remember one time we were just kind of horsing around with our shirts off, and actually we were pretending to be at a beach. So we had laid towels down, we had like an umbrella propped up, and we were just like inside pretending to be on the beach. I don't know. And so we had our shirts off, and I was just like kind of laying back, my arms by my head like this. And my uncle came by, and he was like, "Oh, hey, cover those up." I just like in a joking manner. It wasn't meant to be serious, but he like kind of put a towel over my chest, and I was just like, "Hey, like why do I have to have a towel over my chest?" But he doesn't. That doesn't make any sense. We look the same, whatever. And that just kind of stuck out to me. I was like, that's odd. And then like a few years later, I was interacting with my two half brothers and my cousin Marky, and we're all essentially the same age. I have one half brother who's a little bit older than me, and another one who's a couple years younger. And I remember, I don't know what we were talking about, but I just remember looking at my brother and just saying, I wish I was a boy, like something like that. And he just starts laughing, and I just was taken aback, and he was like, "Oh, Marky, did you hear what Demisha just said?" My name at the time. So did you hear what Demisha just said that she wants balls, she wants to be a boy, and they started laughing at me and making fun of me. And I tried to just laugh it off, like, no, that's not what I was saying, that's not what I said. But really, it was really hurtful to me because I was like, that's a legitimate thing that I feel, and this is like the first time I've openly expressed it, and that's now I'm going to get treated like, ooh, well, maybe I shouldn't talk about that stuff anymore. And so, as time went on, I just stopped, expressing those feelings because I was afraid of being ridiculed and made fun of, and I was just tired of it, so I stopped. I remember another specific memory. I was maybe 13 years old. Me and my dad were watching Maury, a show on TV, and it was an episode where they were bringing transgender people on the show, and they were going to, like, reunite them with a family member that they hadn't seen since their transition. So I remember there was a guy, like a very passing guy on there, and he was meeting his father for the first time since transitioning. And so as soon as his father came out on stage, he started crying. And my dad kind of just like scoffed at him and was like, "Oh, see, like they'll always be a girl. You can tell because look how emotional they are. They'll always be a girl on the inside, no matter what they do to their body on the outside. They're always gonna be a girl." And I was just like, "Oh, well, that's harsh. I don't know." And I didn't know at the time that I wanted to transition yet, but that just resonated with me, and I carried those thoughts with me, and those the emotions that I felt along with that time, that memory. And I was just like, well, like, this is definitely something I can't do, or else this is how my family's going to react to that. So, I just stopped expressing feelings like that. And one more memory for you. We were at a Six Flags once in Jersey. I was probably like 14 or 15. And again, we saw somebody, I don't know, they might have been non-binary too. They didn't really stick out to me as someone who's trans, but they were kind of like a butchish lesbian-ish. And then they had but they didn't shave or anything. They had like hair and stuff. And I think they might have had some facial hair too. But I remember my mom just kind of like turned and looked at me and was like, just don't ever be like that. Like, I was a really openly lesbian at the time and really butchy, but she was just like, as long as you don't turn out to be one of those people. And I was like, oh, okay, don't worry, Mom, I'll never do that. And then, like, all throughout high school, we would joke about it, but literally just joke about it. I would literally tell people that, no, I would never do that. Like, I don't want to put my body through that, my family through that. It's not, it's not perfected yet. I thought it was just surgery, too. I didn't know, like, you could take hormones and, induce these secondary characteristics as well. I thought you just got surgery and that was it. And to me, that just wasn't worth it. I was like, it's too risky. I don't really think I'll do that. I'm not going to put my family through all that. I just won't do that. And that's my mentality all throughout high school. I looked pretty much like I do now, just not as beefy and have the facial hair and stuff. But I shaved my head very early. I dressed like a boy all the time. I was very masculine appearing. I would get misgendered all the time, and I would always find comfort in being misgendered. But I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't come to terms with it, so I just didn't express those feelings. And then I remember I was in 8th grade and I was in AP psychology, and we had the DSM. And at the time in the DSM, gender identity disorder was in there. And I remember reading the description about it, and it was talking about people who are trans. And I remember just being so creeped out by how accurately this thing described me. And some of the few specific things it said was like, dreaming about being the opposite sex. And I would have detailed dreams about having male anatomy and like full detail. And then I would wake up and just be so confused. And like, that's one thing I think people get confused. Like, they think like, oh, if you're trans, you're just like a tomboy who wants to be a boy, or like, it's not like that. It's literally like you wake up. We're like, yep. I would wake up every day being like, yep, normal boy. Go to the bathroom, like, and then every morning like be surprised at my anatomy, like what happened. Like I was just dreaming that I was a boy. Like why did I wake up in this body? And I wasn't one of those people that was like openly depressed all the time. Like I was, I would be really friendly and outgoing, and really happy at school. And then it's when I was home at night alone that I would be so depressed. I cry myself to sleep all the time, and just like I remember as a kid like wishing to God, like, God, please make me a boy. If you make me a boy, I'll never ask for anything again. And I was like trying to make deals with God, and I would try and eventually it would turn to anger, because it wouldn't work. And at one point it did. It turned to anger, and I remember threatening God, like, if I don't wake up a boy tomorrow, I don't believe in you anymore. And that was pretty much the beginning of me stopping not believing in God. And I stopped being religious, and I used to, wear a cross and everything, and I stopped. I was like, clearly, there is no God if this is how I have to live my life. I hate this. I hate my body. I hate, every part of my existence most of the time. There can't be a God, why would God do this to somebody? And so that was the mentality I had, and, I knew I was depressed, but I was never suicidal. I knew I couldn't kill myself. I knew I would never come to that. So I just decided to suck it up, and, if this is the body I'm going to be born in, I'll just try and make the best of it. And it ended up me being in a lot of pain, and a lot of depression, and not being motivated, and being confused. And I would express that in my relationships a lot. I would bounce around relationship to relationship because I couldn't love somebody else, but I couldn't love myself. And that was very evident, like, looking back now. So eventually I moved to UMass, and they have the LGBT floor you can live on in Allies. And on that floor is where I met 2 other trans guys, and they really just kind of opened my eyes to how the process actually works. And I remember just bombarding them with questions all the time. The whole 9 yards. I just wanted to know everything about it. And it took me like a year. I marinated on it and thought about it. And I remember like the very beginning of my sophomore year, I was just like, yeah, I have to do this. This is the choice that I'm making, and this is the life that I'm going to lead. And I just like I changed my pronouns online. And I told my friends, and I remember getting a call from my mom, and she was concerned about the pronoun thing, and I told her, and she used words like out of the blue and like taken aback or caught off guard about it. And me and my friends all thought that was kind of silly because, like I said, I didn't really change anything about myself. I just started binding every day and changed my pronouns and my name. And she didn't like the name I chose either. She like associated Damien with the omen and being the devil's son and all that stuff, and even though we weren't really religious, they like to kind of just like use it as, in certain leveraged cases. So that was one of them. And I had to literally convince her, like, Mom, it's just a movie. It's not based in the Bible at all. Actually, Damien was like a saint or a father or something. I remember like researching it. And because she figured that since my name was Demisha, that I would maybe pick Dimitri. But I didn't want to think about Demisha every time I heard my name. I didn't want to think about my old name every time I heard my new one. I just didn't want to do that. I wanted it to be completely different. I wanted to be my own. So that was the name I chose, and eventually she came around. She was like, every time I would like start a new stage, she would freak out. I remember like I wanted to jump on UMass's insurance because they cover top surgery, and I wanted to have top surgery done under that, having that accessibility. I didn't want to pay for it out of pocket, like, right? That makes sense. Why wouldn't I take advantage of that? And she was like, no, it's too soon. You said you would wait till after college, this and that. And I'm like, yeah, but if I wait till after college, Mom, I have to save up the money. And I'm going to have debt. I'm going to have loans. There's no way. I'm never going to get it done. And so luckily, reluctantly, she kind of let me. I was an adult, so I could. I jumped on the insurance, got the surgery done, and she came around. My dad was a little tougher. And Dad, I'm sorry if you ever see this. This part of the video is not to make you feel bad. I know that you love me and are proud of me, and I love you too. But I just think it's really important for people to know that my transition wasn't easy. You know what I mean? Like there are parts of my transition that people need to know about, because they need to know that just because things are bad doesn't mean they can't get better. So this is like how me and my dad's whole relationship regarding my transition worked out. So he would dead name me all the time, and he would mispronoun me all the time, and especially like in front of like my girlfriends and stuff. And I just wouldn't have it. I would flip out. We'd get into arguments about it, and then I would just storm off or whatever, and we'd stop talking about it. And one particular time, we were on vacation in Colorado, and we were driving back from a casino, and we'd all been drinking, and we just got into this heated argument about masculinity or something like that, and he said some really nasty, mean things to me. I'm not going to go into details about it, but it was so bad that my mom kicked him out of the car and like had him walk back to where we were staying at the time. And, we're all crying and like emotional and whatever. And we were on vacation, so I remember the next day, like, we like apologized to each other and like hugged, but like from then on, it was so different. We had a strange relationship after that. I mean, we always kind of had, I was always confused. We didn't really relate on much, so so I remember that cut deep. And a couple of years later, he did formally apologize to me and like tell me that he regrets all those things that he said, and I do believe him. Like I really do honestly believe him. People change their minds. Like he saw me grow into the man that I am now. He saw how confident and happy I was, and how just this really was the path that I was meant to take. And ever since then, it's been like complete opposite. He's so proud of me. He always comments on my stuff and shares my stuff and calls me his son. And he's even gone as far to tell me that I'm more of a man than he thinks that he'll ever be. And that really, it didn't fix what he said, and I'm never gonna forget what he said. But you gotta forgive, and I don't think you should ever forget. Definitely forgive, and I do, and I love him dearly. He's the biggest male role model in my life. Of course, I love him. So it just goes to show that things can be bad. He called me a faggot. Things can be really bad, and people have a way of changing their minds and learning and growing. I truly believe that. Everybody grows. Hopefully, you should always be growing. You should always be trying to improve yourself. Self-improvement is huge. So that's one part of my transition that was very difficult for me. That relationship with my dad, and some family members were weird about it, but that was probably the worst of it. And even if you have some sort of bad relationship with your parents, don't worry. Like most of the time, they will come around, and if not, then fuck it. You don't need them. You got to be you. You got to be happy. You got to be authentic. One of my favorite quotes is from this woman named Paula Stone. She does a really awesome TED Talk. You should check it out. But she says, the call to authenticity, it has all the subtlety of a smoke alarm. Like, no matter what, no matter how long you try and repress those feelings, they're going to explode on you. They're going to come out. And it was a matter of time before I transitioned. It was just, this is who I am. I am a transgender man. And I used to think it was a curse. I used to, say, why me? And now I kind of think of it as a gift. I don't just see the world from one perspective or two. I actually see the world from a lot of different perspectives. Being, a girl, a lesbian, a butch lesbian, a transgender male who isn't passing yet, and then a transgender male who is passing now. So that's like 5 perspectives for you that I've had on the world, and it's really enriched my point of view and helped me be a more accepting and open-minded man. And I think that's really rare in today's society. So I just see it as a gift now. There are always going to be parts of me that do get depressed and overthink things, and I still get self-conscious. I still have this warrior sometimes, but it's not constant. It's not a constant thing in my life. Like most days, I wake up and being trans doesn't even cross my mind because it just doesn't faze me. It doesn't affect my day-to-day life. You know what I mean? I go about life pretty easy, and I'm blessed, and I'm so grateful for that. But that's why I chose to come out and be visible, because guys need to know, especially young guys who are depressed, who are suicidal, who don't think that there's a way out. There is a way out. There is hope for you. I'm nothing special. I'm just a guy. I just chose to share my story and do it in a big way, and it's gotten me to where I am today, and I'm so grateful. But really, I'm just a guy, just like anybody else. There's nothing really special about me, but I chose to make my story special. I chose to, share it with the world and just really try and be the guy that I didn't have growing up. Like I knew about Aiden Dowling when I first started to transition, but I didn't have any other trans guys to look up to until that point. I didn't know that there was this option for me, that I could be successful and I could pass as a man and I could just live a guy life, and just not have to worry about like being discriminated against a lot and stuff like that. So I want to be that source of inspiration for young guys and just show that, not only can we survive, we can thrive in this world. You really can do anything you set your mind to. I swear by it. You really can if you're adamant and you work hard and you're honest. Like, you really just put forth your best effort. You really can make this world anything you want it to be. So that's my little spiel on that. And then, like, even as I've transitioned, when I first started to transition, I had to hyper masculinize myself, and not just like physically, but I was like, I'm a straight guy. I just felt like there were certain things that I had to do to validate myself. And even now, like fucking 7 years later, I'm learning that I don't have to do those things anymore. And I've been exploring a lot more about myself and just kind of doing a lot of self-discovery. So, I've recently come out as pansexual because I really have been finding myself attracted to other genders aside from just, cis females. I find myself attracted to men in certain ways. Certain aspects of masculinity turn me on, and obviously femininity too, but it's just I've been finding myself, really just coming to terms with the fact that I'm not straight. Like, I'm not just a straight trans guy. I really think that I'm pansexual, and I've been exploring that a lot. And, Raven and I have recently come out as poly, so we've been kind of like having fun with that, so to speak. But I really just have been exploring that side of myself now, and I do feel better. I feel better. Like, we feel lighter. And even like, I feel like it's helped our relationship in a lot of ways. Like, there's not like as much of a strain on it anymore, and we're just happier. We've been fighting a lot less lately, and it's great. I think it's really important to just never stop growing, to never stop learning. And as far as transitioning goes, I don't think my transition will ever be complete, so to speak. I'm still on the fence about bottom surgery. I definitely don't have any plans to get it now because I think that it has a long way to go before it's the risks or the risks outweigh the reward kind of thing for me. So I don't think I'll ever be done transitioning. I've had people ask me that, and I kind of take offense to it, but I kind of understand, like, ignorance. People just don't know. People should be educated. So yeah, I hope I never stop transitioning. I hope I never stop growing. I hope I never stop learning and finding out new things about myself and improving myself and just, being a better person in general all the time. Life is a constant challenge and a constant learning experience, and you should definitely take advantage of that fact. So that's pretty much it. That's me in a nutshell, and I hope you learned some new things about me and got some insights as to what it's like to be in my brain. It can be a scary place. But that's pretty much it. So I usually do like a little brand shout out at the end of my videos, and so I had a photo shoot today for this tattoo shop. And so they made all these cool graphic tees and got a bunch of people together to do like a group shoot. So I think it's called like On the Glass or By the Glass Tattoo. I'm going to turn around. The logo's on my back. So yeah, check them out. They're in Boston. Great artist. He's a really personable guy. And I'm sure you can find like a website or something from just that logo there. That's all for now. As always, keep the suggestions coming. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, shoot me a message on Instagram or something like that. And I'll see you guys next time.